What's going on YouTube? Hope you're all good. Fucking hell. Do we have an interesting day today and some news for you? So I have parted ways with Shane Flowers, which probably will come as a surprise to some of you, but maybe not as a surprise to others. It's absolutely not a reflection on Shane at all. Not at all. Shane's a fantastic coach. I'm just not 100% sure on the coaching style for me, and even discussions with Shane when I was proposing to him about parting ways, he actually agrees. Just because I'm not happy at the moment, and it's not happy because of so many bad sessions and just feeling like I'm so far behind and incredibly weak at the moment, which I know you've all seen it, and it's been very, very tough for me to sort of digest that, and you're patiently waiting for things to pick up, and they're picking up a bit, but the reality of it is my strength level now is the strength level I was at in 2024. And Shane said, in reflection, that the ideology was to take 2 steps back for 3 steps forward, and we're more taking too many steps back, which I completely agree with, and he's absolutely on the money. What I need to do now is just continue focusing on the stuff that's been working in terms of the patella tendon strength that we've got now, shoulder mobility, conditioning, all those boxes ticked fantastic. But what I need to do is more than anything, obviously get stronger, but I need to find my mojo again. I just don't feel myself at all. I had that one good session, that squat session the other week. Could there have been more positive sessions with Shane over the next 4 weeks? Yes, I think so. But one thing that's really, really bearing down on me that I've really been struggling with, and I've not spoke about it much on the channel, is inevitably every week I have to write feedback to Shane. And I have an app. He has an app that I fill out after every training session. And as I'm sure you can imagine, every week that's been very, very negative. And I find that quite embarrassing. I'm normally a very, very positive person. Those that have prepped with me or seen me prepping, I'm aggressive, but I'm also very positive and very productive. And, bad sessions happen, and I get that, it's not the end of the world when that happens, but to be this negative all the time and then have to project that onto someone who I like as much as Shane, I just find it all very, very embarrassing, and that adds to the demoralising nature of it all. So something needed to change, and I wasn't prepared to spend the next 4 weeks miserable and moaning to Shane. I just don't like it. All of it makes me feel really uncomfortable. So my job now is to do some event familiarisation and try and get a little bit stronger, and about a week out I'll make the decision as to whether I actually compete or not. I'm quite happy to leave the comp and not compete if I don't feel like I'm going to enjoy it. As simple as that. That's what it comes down to. I did a couple of comps last year where I competed and felt like I didn't want to be there, and that was new to me as well. So I really don't want to repeat of that. I'm okay coming into the comp at 70% if I'm excited to do it, and I'm enjoying my training. So that's what I need to do is try and enjoy training again and be excited about the comp. And if those things don't happen, then I won't be doing Haynes Farm in 4 weeks time. So today is a keg session. I'm going to be doing some keg loading. I'm going to be doing some truck pull style work with a harness, pulling a sled, and I'm also going to be doing some other accessories and bits and pieces. But I'm going to take you through the whole session as I have been doing. Obviously this session is programmed by me, and all of the sessions for the next 4 weeks will be programmed by me, and then I'm going to decide what I'm going to do coaching wise after Haynes Farm, in preparation for Boston Strongest, and I'll be taking you along that journey in the same format, and then we'll have Hampshire Strongest towards the back end of the season for me, which will be, I think it's in August. I can't remember off the top of my head. It is in August. Yeah, it's the August weekend, I believe. So I've got two more preps to do after this one. Whether I do that under my own steam or whether I have some help is yet to be decided. But yeah, I'm excited just to try and find my mojo again, get a little bit stronger perhaps, for sure, and then just try and find Ben again, which seems a bit odd, but this is where we're at, this is where we are. So let's just get to work.
That better? Still rips, isn't it? But it's better, isn't it? Gives you a layer.
Yeah, session done. A good one. I'm happy with that. That was all right. Low expectations, as there's nothing in there realistically that I've currently been doing. So it's always a good sensation when that's like a starting point. And everything felt all right. Everything felt really, really good. Keg loading was decent. I've got a couple of little bits to work on there. I've also need to get some heavier kegs. That was only up to just shy of 100 kilo today, so a long way off the 150 keg that we've got to do at comp. But like, strength doesn't feel like it's going to be that much of an issue on there. Obviously, I've not handled a 150 keg though. I might have a look at, there's a gym in Boston called Mayhem. I've got really good relationship with Tom that owns that gym's fantastic. I might see what weighted kegs they've got to save me pissing around with these and go over and do a bit there, which might be an option for next weekend. We'll see. I'll drop him a little message today and see what I can sort out. Otherwise, I need to find a keg and get some more weight in it. Get 100, ideally about 120 kilo is what I'd like to have for next week, and then about 120 again for the week after, and then about 140 for the last couple of weeks of prep would be nice. Just so I'm managing that load issue. I don't need a 150 keg, to be honest with you. If I can load a 120 really well and a 140 fucking well, then I know that I'm going to do a 150 just fine. I've then got to do that gassed and play around with that to build confidence. So yeah, I know where I need to be with that one. The harness pull today was decent. That was just shy 400 kilo on there. The tractor will not be that heavy at comp, and it will also not be so slippery, and it won't be a bear crawl either. So I've trained that much harder today, and to be honest, that was more for just like a lot of my work will be at the moment. It's not it is ego lifting, but it's not ego lifting at the same time. Cheers, Claire, see you later. It's ego lifting in a sense. I've got to dig my confidence from fucking somewhere, and light weights ain't going to cut it. But at the same time, it's not ego lifting in a sense that I know where my limits are. I'm not going to do something I've never done before and hurt myself. I ascended that up today. I went through 140, 240, 290, 350, and then eventually to 395-ish, something like that. So, if at any point, I felt like enough was enough, I was ready to stop. And I knew that, to be honest, traction was going to be the thing that I found the most difficult there, as opposed to power. And that was the case. I was just slipping. But it was good. It was good to feel the fatigue in the legs and just put some power into something as well and work. I just really enjoyed it. I'm unsure whether I'll do it next week. I don't need to really do that week to week. The leg press is going to take care of a lot of that truck pull power. Getting that initial leg drive comes from the leg press a little bit. So leg press today, that was 500 kilo in plates loaded on for 6, which that's a particularly heavy leg press, somewhere around 550 total for 6, and that felt hard and heavy. I used to be able to do that weight very comfortably, so I know I'm a little bit behind, but I'm also happy just to be lifting something heavy and feeling that sensation of something really heavy going through my legs in what I consider to be a safer environment compared to, say, something like safety squat bar. So yeah, very happy with that. Finished off with a little bit of pump stuff. I put a little bit of blood through my pecs, a little bit of blood through my biceps, and a little bit of blood through my side delts. The pecs and the biceps, realistically, that's there to start to strengthen the tendons, although I'm not going to be strengthening my tendons in time for Haynes, but it will be something that's an ongoing thing. There is an element of aesthetics as well to my chest and the side raises that I did, because I like having a big chest and I like having big shoulders, and I ain't gonna fucking apologise for that. That's the primary reason why most of us join the gym. And although visuals and stuff like that is such a small part of my goal, I'd say less than 1% of my goal, it's still part of my goal. I don't want to have a really distorted build where you're all tricep and front delt with no chest and whatever, and I've also spent a long time building my physique to what it is. It ain't pretty, but it's the physique that I fucking like. I've got to a point in my life where I really like my physique, so I'm not prepared to hit Control-Alt-Delete on certain parts of my body and let them deflate and shrink down and just look a bit soft and weird. And I also don't want boobs. so there is an element of aesthetics, but there's also an element, certainly in the biceps and the pecs, for tendon health. So that will remain a staple. And I think that was it. Was that the whole session? Yeah. Oh, I did farmers as well, didn't I? I did farmers. I forgot about those. That was for grip. So I had a little chat with a friend last week who mentioned that Paddy has got some various different types of farmers handles with different grips, one of which is rolling. So I did some farmers today just for a touch of familiarization. I'm not going to linear those, not at the moment. I'm going to do some different grip next week and just keep mixing it up and different challenges. I'm just banking on that mystery event being a grip event. So as you can hear, I'm a lot more positive about the concept of competing after that session. This is what I mean about confidence building. That the only downside is for me, I could have done with doing this session, 4 weeks ago, like at 8 weeks out, just a little familiarization touch on kegs, little familiarization pull with a harness, gone somewhere, pulled a truck, something like that, just so you felt it. It just gives you that confidence, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. There seems to be a little bit of a common denominator in strongman at the moment where everyone sort of comes into it, and the appeal to doing strongman as opposed to doing powerlifting or just general gym going, bodybuilding, whatever, is the variation that we have in strongman. You'll do stones, you do farmers, you do axle press, you do log press, you do dumbbell press. There's all these different things that you can do, and it's always varied, and it's not the same thing every single time you compete, and this, that, and the other. And I get all of that. A lot of people come to strongman from, say, powerlifting because they're bored of doing squat, bench, and deadlift every week, and I get that. But at the same time, like, consistency is king. And that doesn't mean you need to train events year round. There is an element of risk to doing that. You need to weigh up what makes sense for you. But leaving things right until last minute just doesn't suit me. It works for so many people. But for me, I like the element of rehearsal. I've spoke about that before. And if I decide to move to a different coach, for my Boston's prep or the Hampshire's prep or later in the year or whatever I decide to do, it'll be something that I'll be making really, really clear. Even if I double back to Shane, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, and I'm not putting pressure on myself. It's something that I spoke to Shane about that I needed to do was pull the pressure off myself. And that pressure isn't just about doing well at comp. The pressure comes from wanting to perform as an athlete and represent myself to Shane, to my clients, to my friends and the family and the culture we've got at the gym. The pressure I put on myself because I want my son to be proud of me. There's an absolute fuck ton of pressure that I'll put on my shoulders, which it's well easy for someone to sit across from me and go, oh, you don't need to do that, you don't need to do that. I do, because that pressure also, for the most part, drives me forward. But in this case, when things aren't going well, consistently like they have been, and I'm under that kind of pressure, it crushes me mentally. So today's session's been very positive. It's given me that confidence back, and I'm very, very excited for next week's sessions. I've got a speed deadlift session on Tuesday, which will be our next session, where you'll be joining me for that one, which is why I spanked it on the leg press a little bit today, because I knew I had that session on Tuesday, so I can afford to tax the legs a little bit. But I've come off that session feeling pretty good. My knees feel okay as well. They were a little bit beat up yesterday and a little bit on the sore side this morning, but I've moved pretty well there, which again is more confidence in the bag. So if we can just keep doing this and connecting good sessions and building confidence, I'll be in Oxford in May. Till next time, peace, love and cake.